session, and today we're going to be talking about family systems. Now, one of the things that I firmly believe in is that we need to understand where we get our messages that we guide our lives by. And we need to make sure that the way that we're wired, that we have control over it, or that at least we understand what's happening. When we feel out of control, overwhelmed, we become angry, and that causes issues in relationships and also in the bedroom. So, if we are able to understand what our relationship is to our parents or the individuals that were the primary caregiver, and it can be a grandmother, it can be an uncle, aunt, whatever. And once we understand what motivates them, understands what messages they sent you about your sexuality and sex in general, and your ability to have an intimate relationship. Because as a child, you're sitting there watching this adult and you're learning what it's supposed to be like. Well, if they aren't a good example, well, guess what? You're going to have some dysfunctionality. And with that dysfunctionality, what comes along is a dysfunctional intimate relationship, a dysfunctional bedroom, a dysfunctional family, and that's not really where we want to go. We want our lives to be more along the lines of respectful, being able to trust people, having relationships, great communication. And if we learn that our parents did not have good communication, well, then we're going to have to take a little bit of extra effort and learn how to communicate better. And what that's going to do is make your life easier, and you're not going to have to go through a divorce. You're going to be able to overcome and understand what it is like to be in the other person's shoes, to be able to function in that relationship. Now, I understand that it is not your fault that you don't have this information. They do not teach what I'm talking about, in any elementary, junior high, high school. It only comes when you're in college or you take outside courses. And where I happen to learn about it is that I was in training and somebody brought this up on family systems. I learned about personality types, family systems, and management. And the whole idea is that once I became aware of it, number one, you couldn't trap me unless I wanted to be trapped. Number two, I was able to then take those disagreements, that dysfunctionality, rearrange it so that everybody understood what was happening in those conversations. And I was also able to improve my own personal intimate relationships. There is so much conflict around sex, and that then drives into what happens with erectile dysfunction. There's consequences. If when we're with our partner, how do we know how to treat them? If we're taking it off of the pornography model, that's not a good way. If we're taking it off of our parents and our parents were cold, they were distant, they were non functional, well, guess what? That's going to cause performance issues in the bedroom. It's going to cause divorce, health issues, sleep disorders, eating disorders, all kinds of just wonderful things. But when we learn how to manage it, that's when everything can change. And it's like a light bulb going off. It's not your fault. We as children need to trust something. We need to trust in an institution, and we need to be able to trust that we aren't going to get abandoned, that we need to trust that we have our communication is solid, that we are respected, we are trusted. And if we don't, then we're going to have to build a whole new system to protect ourselves from disappointment, from hurt, from fear, and the unknown. So when we learn that we have better control and we can now have sexual play, we can have kisses, we can have hugs, we can have touches, we can have intimacy out in public. Understand that if you've never seen it before, it's out there, it's available. I've seen it in parks, concerts, I've seen it and it's wonderful to see. All right. We also have to understand what our roles are. If we're the youngest child, what is their role? Well, each one has a certain way to get things done. And if we respect that and understand that, the next time we go to a holiday and we meet with these individuals called our family, what's going to happen is we're going to know how to have a discussion, how to be able to communicate better rather than falling into the trap, getting your feelings hurt and becoming angry and really hating the situation. You're going to start to relax and you're going to start to understand that what your role is and how to navigate it. Now, you can stop playing your role and it's not going to affect anybody else's role. Just get that. When you stop playing, it's going to start creating some dysfunctionality because you're not playing the role in the movie the way it should be played. And guess what? You have a way to be able to manage that. And the better you get at it, the better you're going to understand how to be able to manage it. We also have to understand what are the roles in the household. All right. So when we were growing up, were we the only child? Did we manage our parents? Did we manage the household as children? And when that happens, you take on a different role. Your parents then take on a different role. As parents mature and dementia happens, we as the children then need to step up to the leadership role and be able to support the family. And not financially, but support people in a way that is respectful and trusting and communicative. All right. Now, one of the things we have to understand is where are we in the pecking order? How valuable are we to the system? Are we the black sheep? Are we the one that always got? Did we happen to come up, or was there a another child in the family that had a disability that took most of the effort and most of the time with the parents, and then we felt abandoned? Well, all of this comes into play when you go into the bedroom and you start to have an intimate relationship, and it's it's okay, just as long as we know how to play and what the game is. And that takes a lot of pressure off of us. So let's talk about family systems just in general. All right, I'm going to be talking about, let's see, I'm trying to get to the person that I am modeling this after, and I'm having a difficult time. All right, so there are four subsets of the family systems, and they're easily recognized. The couple, the parent subsystem, who is the leader and who's not. The third one is the sibling subsystem, and then there's the individual. So let me talk about the couple. First, it's how did they interact? What was their intimacy? How did they manage money? How did they manage children? And there's a dominant and there's a submissive. There are different um, in certain areas. It can be like in the management of the household and the finances. Was there fidelity financially, or was there fidelity as far as sexually? Who was the breadwinner? Who was the person that took care of the kids? Who was the primary caregiver? So all of those happen to formulate into how we respond in group situations and also in our own personal family. So the next one is the parent subsystem, and that's how did they work together? Was it always bickering and fighting? Who was dominant? Who's the leader? Who's the rule follower? Is there relationship sabotage going on? And were they both paying attention? Were they present? Those are very helpful. And then we talk about triangles, using of triangles. Okay, now I can explain that, but easy example is that in healthcare, you have the patient, you have the healthcare worker, and then you have a family member. You have a perfect triangle. The patient is either conscious or not conscious, and what happens is that the sibling or family member sides with the patient, and then the healthcare workers on the outside. So who takes the brunt? The healthcare worker. It's a wonderful trap. And when we understand that in our own family relationships that there are triangles going on, then we are going to be so much happier because we can say, I'm not going to play that game. Think about lawyers, they get, third parties. Think about a third party being a buffer, that's a triangle. Then we have the over functioner. Those are the people that get things done, they take over, they have control issues. Then you have the under functioning, and that's an individual that just, hang on, that happens to be totally passive. They don't care, they don't want control, they don't want to be seen, they don't want to be bothered. Just take me along for the ride, and oh, by the way, you really did a bad job. So we also have distance. Those are the people that run away. As soon as there's a problem, a conflict, they're gone. So they distance themselves physically, they distance themselves mentally, they distance themselves spiritually. So that we need to be able to take a look at that. And then there's the cutoff. That's an individual that simply says, I'm out of here, do not contact me, don't ever call me. It's ghosting. All right? Then we also have secrets, family secrets. Did somebody have an affair? Was somebody born out of wedlock? Did somebody, do financial, um, let's see, cheating? Or so we have all these little secrets that nobody wants to talk about, but they're there in an undercurrent. Well, if we don't know the secrets, then we're going to be repeating them, and that's not a good thing. And then we have the subline position, and what that means is that we have the oldest, we have the middle child, we have the youngest, we have a the only child. All of those dynamics are in the mix. And think about it this way, that you're baking a cake. The cake is not just flour, baking soda, sugar, and heat. No, no. They all come together. How much, what's the consistency? And that creates the family unit and then the family relationships. And when we understand those, then we have more power to be able to affect them. So let me give you a couple of other examples. I had a girlfriend in junior high when I was lustful, let's say. And what happened is that she had an ex-boyfriend that happened to be at the same school dance. And she was whining and complaining of how he treated her. And I was going to be the knight in shining armor. And I was going to go over there and just square it up with this guy and make sure. Well, reality was it was a triangle. She still liked him, and she wanted me to go visit Death. And I came pretty close to visiting Death. Didn't turn out really well. And of course, she didn't last really long. So I have employees, I have tenants that try to triangulate me into their family systems. And it's kind of like, no, I don't do that. It's not worth it. And I just point blank tell them, no, you're trying to get me to do something and become part of a problem that isn't even my problem. And I don't want your problem. And, over functioners fall into those triangles just quicker than ever. And understand that if you're in a triangle and you don't really want to be there, it's going to affect your stress level. It's going to affect your anxiety, your genitalia, and how you treat your intimate spouse. So, when we go to holidays and we visit our family or we go visit them, we always will fall into these patterns. It is triggered, but if we understand what they are, then we can break out of those problems and break out of those triggers and really have a good time, really make ourselves happy, really enjoy the relationships. And the thing about it is that if we don't like it, we don't have to play. All right? So we're talking about what do we want in the bedroom? What do we want in our lives? Do we want a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelmment? It's up to you. I personally am not interested in that. So I'm working on making sure that there are no secrets, that everything's on top of the table, that we can communicate no matter how hard it is. And I'm going to be respectful. I am going to trust that they have the family as a whole dedicated to survive. And that's important. We have members that aren't all there mentally, they're toxic. What are you going to do? Well, in most cases, they need to be cut off if they're that toxic. When they walk into the room, it goes dark. There's a black cloud. No, those individuals are not fun to be around. And we may need to go to distancing. Each one has a place and a part and a time. It's whether or not you choose when you want to do it, not when you are reacting to the whole thing. If you're making those choices, then guess what? You're going to have functionality because you're going to reduce your stress, your anxiety, all of that. And understand that what we're doing here is talking about a mindset. A mindset. I'm no longer a victim. I am no longer going to accept being uh, bullied. I'm not going to accept that uh, the secret can't be talked about. Everything is on the table at that point. So when we become educated and we understand how to use these tools, the chances that we are going to be able to improve our erectile dysfunction situation goes up dramatically because we are taking control of our health, we're taking control of our mindsets, and our mind controls a lot of what happens in our body with disease, with the uh, autoimmune diseases, a lot of different things. So go ahead and comment. Talk about some of these ideas. If you're interested in learning more, I have the ability to be able to train you and make your life so much easier and help reduce all of that anxiety. And understand that it's not really your fault. This is how we were all trained. It's only when we start to make decisions on getting rid of trash in our lives so our lives become better. And I want to thank you for coming. Go ahead and comment. I appreciate your time. You have a great day.